so let's talk about dropping the club into the slot. This is an area that amateur golfers struggle with, and it's always because of one movement. Now, to clarify, let's reference Justin Rose for this, because Justin Rose posted a video probably a couple of years back now where he talked about his feeling in the start of the downswing, and to this day, it's a question that I get a lot from you guys on comments, but particularly with students that I work with. And he talks very much about this feeling in the start of the downswing where his back stays to the target as he lets his arms drop down. And I think that's an important thing to discuss, because obviously a lot of instruction now is heavy on the rotation, heavy on things like the chest move, and a lot of golfers tend to think, well, what are we looking to do? Are we looking to move the chest over towards the lead side in a rotational manner, or are we trying to keep the back towards the target? The reality of the situation is that the thing that is going to define the start of the downswing is a lot to do with this backswing movement, and particularly the position of the pelvis. Now, if I was to use this orange block here and this pointer to sort of visually portray what we're looking for, so what should happen is as we go into the posture, the pelvis becomes downward facing. So then as I turn back, what should happen is my pelvis will continue to point downward, okay, like so. Now like this, right? So I take the club back, and then as I turn, my pelvis should still point more downward, right? So if I show you from this side on perspective, this way. Okay, now this is a really important movement, because as we allow the pelvis to turn and stay more downward, this enables us to maintain what is known as a tilt. And if I was to draw a line through the center of my head and through the center of my lead foot, you can see the way that I'm maintaining my tilt. Now, if I'm somebody who doesn't turn correctly, I slide, or I kind of get the backswing sequence, you know, this movement very much wrong, then what happens is I don't have the ability to maintain that tilted movement. And that's key. Now, for students that I work with, the big thing that I'm always trying to emphasize is sequence. So as we get set up, what you're looking to do is move that club to the side of the body with more of a hands and upper body movement, like so. And the reason why that's important is because it produces what's known as a tilt. So see the way that if I move everything together, I get very flat in my rotation. Okay, so this is me moving everything together. If I move my hands and arms first, see the way this produces more of a tilted motion. So producing that tilt is really important, okay, for that first part of that sequence, because otherwise if you start this sort of feeling of trying to turn your lower body down and around too soon, you're going to lose your sequence. So it's very much hands and arms first, and then from there, then you can turn up towards the top, maintaining this feeling of the pelvis being down, and then you'll have this nice tilted angle. From this position, you can now then start to get the feeling of what your chest is doing. So if I was to now do it differently, this time put it through my chest, I go here, I swing up towards the top. So as I start my downswing, what's going to happen is I'm going to move to the left in a rotational manner, like so. And this is Justin Rose's keeping the back to the target move. So it's not this, okay? You definitely don't want to just start the downswing with purely linear motion. But equally, what you don't want to do is you obviously don't want to have a poor backswing position, okay, where maybe you're sliding too much and then try and turn too much over the leg, because then you're going to come down too steep. So what I'm trying to say is to really get the feeling of the correct start to the downswing, the thing that you really have to get a grasp of is having a good pelvis relationship into leg in the backswing position, because from there, then you can start this feeling of your upper body starting to rotate, as the pointer is demonstrating here, whilst I move to the left. And this is how you get the feeling of keeping your back to the target, as you then allow your arms to drop into that space that you've created as I'm demonstrating here. And then from there, you can just continue to rotate and let the club continue to move through. So if you're struggling with dropping the club into the slot in the start of the downswing, then 100% you can play on that feeling of Justin Rose's back to the target. But what I'm trying to say is he is still rotating. You don't want to start the downswing with just the linear motion. You want to be turning, but you need to make sure you get this position correct first. And you can play around with that at home. Put your hands across your shoulders, do a nice rotation, feel that tilt. And then as you start the downswing, as you then move your upper body and your lower body progressively to your lead side in a rotational manner, you can see the way that you're going to be able to maintain that tilt and keep the back to the target, and more importantly, drop the club into the slot. See you soon.